a good room of people in
We
person.
do. Well, welcome to the County Iowa Genealogical Society. For May, it's May already. Our acronym is SKIGS. If you're a new person, I see a lot of new people in the room, and I don't know about online, but we're going to have a short business meeting and refreshments right after our presentation. And this is for you people that are online. If you will contact Catherine, sitting right over here, for if you have sound issues or questions. And please turn off your audio, and she is going to be recording. So our speaker today is Lynn McClory, and she is the president of the Muscatine Genealogy Society. And she's also a volunteer with the Iowa GenWeb. And she is going to tell us a lot about herself and about the program. So we're going to turn it right over to her.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to come to your meeting. This is really kind of exciting. I just love talking about Iowa GenWeb. Just out of curiosity, how many people are familiar with Iowa GenWeb? Oh, good. That's great. Now, of course, my voice starts to catch. Iowa GenWeb is a division of US GenWeb. Every state in the country, every county, every parish has a website that's all done by volunteers and is free for the world to view. If you click on the US GenWeb logo on the Muscatine County site, it brings you to the US GenWeb project main page. And over here, you can select a state and select whatever state you're interested in. And it'll take you right to that website. And you can just research your little heart out in the privacy of your own home, dressed as however you feel like it. This project, US GenWeb, has been in place since 1996. And like every project, no one pays any dues, and we have no budget. Members are expected to fund incidental costs like photocopies from a book. Maybe you're going to transcribe the pages to place it on the site, or for gas while going to document a cemetery. It all comes out of our own pocket. We have to buy our own computers and buy whatever computer software we need. The good news is that there are several free web editor and file transfer programs that are available and can be downloaded from the internet. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Now Iowa GenWeb has there's 99 counties in Iowa. And we have a map that you can go to, and you can click on whatever little county you want, and it'll take you directly to that website. It's kind of handy. Right now, back page.
I think it popped you into a new tab. So people.
Okay, I just learned I had to go back to a new tab. Okay. The one thing about Iowa GenWeb sites is we have certain things that we're required to have on our site. We have to present the US GenWeb logo and a logo for the Iowa GenWeb project. We have to have a join our team logo, and that invites people to join our project by a number of different ways. You can adopt a county or adopt a special project. You contribute by transcribing records, whether it be cemetery records, birth, death, and marriages, pages from a history book. There's all kinds of things you can work from. Okay, go back to. All right. Now, like I said, but nevertheless, we have to pay for our server. So if you're not familiar with what a server is, I mean, it's one thing to have your own individual computer system, but high up in the sky, Iowa GenWeb has an independent system with a server, and that's where all of our data goes. And it's from that server that when people click on a logo with one of our counties, that's how the information is transmitted to your computer. And so I'll talk more about that in just a little bit, but we're funded through Friends of Iowa GenWeb, and it's an independent group because, mind you, all of our sites, we don't ask for any money. And like I said, we have no budget, but we still have to pay for the server space. So people can make a donation to Friends of Iowa GenWeb, and then that's how we get the money to pay for our server. And we're very blessed that we're doing very well financially, and we have grand plans on being available forever. How's that for a statement? I've been a volunteer coordinator for Iowa GenWeb since 2007. I started out by working as a contributor, while Dave Dunstan was the county coordinator for Muscatine County. It was a time in my life that I was a full-time caregiver for my elderly mother-in-law who lived with us and her sister who lived nearby. They both passed at the age of 91. I needed something to challenge my mind while sitting at home. And so I started taking on projects that I could do while sitting by our dining room table. And that was a really good fit for me because I had something to do, but I could also be there immediately for my mother-in-law whenever she needed me. And she was legally blind and had mobility issues, and she kept me pretty busy. After several months working as a volunteer with Dave, he then told me that he wanted to retire as a county coordinator and asked if I would take over the site. And I said I had no clue on how to create a web page. And he said, well, you can learn. So I bought a book titled Learning HTML for Dummies. And through trial and error, it gave me the basics. And then Dave sat down next to me a few times, and I finally learned the basics of coding. My pages are not fancy, as I will demonstrate, trying not to make you dizzy as I scroll down. For example, here's a section on family stories. It looks just like, I mean, this looks easy to read, right? It's just, we have a certain layout that I try to be consistent with throughout the site. My background colors might change a little bit, but this was created as a simple Word file. And then I coded it. So you wonder, well, what does coding look like? It looks like that. HTML, way at the top, the header, that's my header. And the body color has a code of the F's and the C's, and that is a certain color. Block quote allows the indentation of the information on a page. Oops, don't do it that way, Lynn. You got to go. Uh-oh, I really lost it.
Just a second.
There it is. Block quote provides the indentation. Font size here, that's what size the print is. If you see a P, that means it's starting a new paragraph. And at the end of every paragraph, you have to do a /P. If this ampersand NBSP comma, that gives me one space. So now you can see, if I go up here,
Yeah, it should take you back.
okay. I was at Muscatine, I think.
Yeah.
So then it takes me back to the screen to make it look like this. No, that's not bad, is it? Once you get the hang of it, it's not bad. Now, we'll also have times where we use a spreadsheet and we're using Excel. Something like a cemetery listing. Here's the county home. And this is just a plain Excel spreadsheet with a surname, first name, and death date. And the way you code it is you do a table. And the TRTD starts the left side, the left cell. And then the TR starts it. The TD says, okay, this is coming up. And then the next cell is the last name. And then you have to close the cell and then move on to the next one. So it's a very simple way of coding. I'm going to go to my own computer for a second, hopefully. My documents. Okay, I just got in this morning, no less, a piece from a volunteer who lives in Washington State. That's a long way across the country. She used to live in Durant. She adored documenting Durant Cemetery. And she adored working with other cemeteries, trying to tighten up their databases to offer online through our site. And so she would prepare these databases, and by research, by looking what's on Find a Grave, on other, like the WPA, obituaries and all of that, and she would create these databases. Now this one, she just turned in on Walcott Cemetery. Before, I might have had maybe 300 entries from the WPA back in, that somebody transcribed back in 2016. Well, she just turned in a database with over 1,800 burials. Pretty sure it's 1,800. It's either 1,800 to 18,000. Hold on. Well, anyway, it's a very big database. So I will now code it and get it ready to put on the web page. So to do this, all I do is I insert a column on each side. Come on, insert. Come back here. Behave. Why doesn't it want to do that? There we go. All right. Okay, so we're going to start with a TR, especially if my hands work, TD, and then we're going to go over to the other side, and we're going to close it. And then on this side, we have a date that's centered. So we do a close it first, and then we're going to TD align, oops, equal center. And we'll do that over here. And being that we want the notes to bump up to the left side, we just do a good old TD. And then we're going to end the line by a /TD TR. And then we go back over here. And I'm going to just smooth it out. I copy it. And I go all the way down to the very bottom. I'm not going to do the whole thing now just because it takes a while. This is just to give you an idea. Now, does this look hard?
No.
It's not. Come back. Okay, So now this thing is all set, ready to go. So then the next thing I would do is I have to create a web page. And to do that, I may be getting out of too many things here. I need to get over here. Pardon me, but this is a little bit different than, I need to get to another program. How do I?
Oh, so if you want to
And
just minimize all that stuff, and then you should be able to. get
okay,
the
there we
programs.
go. Okay. Now, this is a file transfer program. There are many different kinds out there. You can get them for free, download them from the internet. If anybody really wants to dabble, I'll be glad to give you the links. I happen to use a program called Leap. That's very ancient and I absolutely adore it. You will notice on this side here are all this is on information on my computer. And I have a lot of different categories. I manage several websites. I do Muscatine, Cedar, Louisa, and Carroll counties. And I also am the temporary coordinator or babysitter for Scott County, Jackson, and Hamilton at this point. I've had over the years, I've managed to work with a lot of sites. So in this case, we're going to go to the Muscatine County site. And I'm going to be creating a cemetery listing. And down at the bottom here, I have set up.
Down to the bottom, almost to the bottom.
This one.
Well, we can use that one. What the heck? So anyway, what I do is I create a template file. And I have my headers and the basic layout of the page. And then I'll give the title of the page, what my sources are, and then the presentation of the page. And so what I'll do is I will, I want to get out of this. So up here, I have the opportunity to edit, and it brings me right into the coded page part. So up this part here starts with HTML, and it has head and ends up with /table. That's the header part of my page. That will always have the logos and whatever. And then the next part is setting up my topic. Now, this particular one was for a funeral home. We have a obituary index summary that we do at the beginning of every new year. And it lists all the obituaries of people that died within that year. And we have, I'll show you what that looks like later. It's easy for me to get going off into tangents. But so I have the title of the page or the content of the page. I have who submitted the information and the date. And then this center font size, B means bold. And so it starts, you have to, again, to the left of the item that I want to have in bold, it's got to be coded that way. And when you want to turn off the bold, it has to be coded that way on the other side of it with a \. And so then my table is set up with what size border I want. Do I want it pencil thin or do I want it really wide? And then how wide do I want it to spread across the page? That's where the width and the 90% comes into play. And I have to enter the information the way very, very specifically, because if I don't, it doesn't work. And I can't tell you the number of times I think I did it right and I obviously did something wrong, and I'll spend a bit of time staring at it going, okay, what did I miss? So anyway, that's the joys of the trade. And then down here at the bottom, we have \table, \center, \p, which is, of course, closing the table, closing the fact that it's centered on the page, and then closing that, it's the end of that paragraph. And then I like to put when the page has been created and updated. And I really like to include ways of going back to where you started. If you're working with, in this case, the cemetery, a funeral home database, I want you to be able to go back to the main index page. Or you can then go back to the death information page. Because I think that makes it really, it's nice to be able to, to me, it improves the flow, if you will, when you're working on a research project. And if you don't have the information like this on the bottom of your page, it's really frustrating to be knocked off of the site altogether. And you have to figure your way to get back on it all over again. So I think everybody's probably experienced going onto a web page somewhere and you do get knocked out, or suddenly you're in no man's land and you have no clue where you are. So that's the way I like to do it. With the Iowa GenWeb project, map of counties here, if you click on a bunch of them, you'll see a lot of different layouts that are different. We are not required to have all the same thing, but we're required to have components there that are the same. Here's Dallas County. Again, we have the what's new, your sources. Normally I wear glasses. Can you tell? Okay, here's another one. So you can see that people have a lot of different ways to present the information. There are programs, again, that are free, that are web editing programs. And they'll have templates that you can use that are already created, or you can shoot the works and create your own. There's also programs that you can use that will actually create the information that's on your page a certain way. And if you looked at the source of it, to me, it really helps to be able to read the code, because I can look at this and say, okay, now I know what to do. If I had to do anything with the site, say it becomes an orphan and I have to get my name up on the web page, because people can then contact me and we can at least facilitate your research for that county the best we can. I might not know anything about it, but I could refer you to the local library or the Genealogy Society or the Historical Society. Or maybe they have a lookup page and I can refer them to somebody that's volunteered to be a lookup that has access to certain material. So even if there's no full-time coordinator on the site, there's always somebody there to help, which I kind of like. I like that. And some people will use cascading style sheets. Boy, was I lucky I said that right. So they have, again, this template that will allow their pages to look all the same. And they just have to plug in the information in the appropriate spot. Does that make sense? Good. Okay, now let's see, where am I?
Scott.
I will, believe me. I will. I'm not gonna get, I haven't gotten there just yet. As far as the management of Iowa GenWeb, we are managed by a leadership team. And this leadership team consists of a state coordinator, assistant state coordinator, immediate past state coordinator, 2 welcome hostesses, and we have a technical team leader. Now, the technical team leader is the one that takes care of giving each site the keys to the site to access the server. And if all of a sudden you hit the wrong button and you wiped everything out, they're the ones that will say, "Grr," but they'll help you restore the site. And it does happen. Whenever they're the ones that keep track of all the coordinators, all their contact information, and have all the keys to all the sites. So nothing ever gets lost. And they are the only ones that have access to those kind of files. Now, obviously, a state coordinator, assistant state coordinator, immediate past, our leadership team is elected annually. Our fiscal or our term year is July 1st to June 30th. And every position is only for a year. But if somebody, when somebody's elected as an assistant state coordinator, that person will then, it's a 3-year bout where they're 1 year assistant state, the next year they're in training, the next year they're state coordinator, and then the 3rd year they're the immediate past state coordinator. And then what it is trying to give people in the leadership field support. It's to help teach them, to help manage when you're in the Top Gun seat. And it's good because they all have very specific jobs. One thing IAGenWeb does is we have peer reviews every 6 months, and we are required to have new information every 6 months. And it can be a complete record set, which could be like documenting an entire cemetery, or a random information, which would be pages of chapters from a history book. But we are required to have this new stuff. And if we don't, you get reprimanded. And if you don't fix it in 2 weeks, you're out. We want to have our sites in tip-top shape. We don't want you to experience page not found because somebody's goofed with the link coding link. And we have link checker programs that we can run. And you think you're doing just fine, but we've got a lot of email addresses that somebody could, at a flick of an eye, change their email address. Or if you have links to other websites, they could change what they're doing. And when they go to click on your link, if it doesn't work, what good is that? So it can be tricky. And there's times I think, hey, I have no problem at all. But I'll just run a link checker report just for jollies, just to double check. And it's like, whoa, wait a second, I got some problems there and I never knew existed. And I can get right on it and fix it. So that's a good thing. We also have welcome hostesses, and I'm going now through my 2nd year as a welcome hostess. And what this is when somebody becomes a brand new coordinator, it's nice to have somebody there to help show you the ropes. And 9 times out of 10, somebody that becomes a new county coordinator thinks they know the world, and then they get involved with what's there on the site, and they are just floundering. Because mind you, you're not going into it doing it your way. You're going into it following the way that's already there. And one of the biggest mistakes new people do is they think they want to redo the layout of the site. And that's not a good thing. And when I show you Scott County, you'll understand.
No, Scott County.
Yeah, Scott County has been an orphan for quite some time. And I have been the on and off temporary coordinator since 2016. For some reason, people, the last 3 that have taken on Scott County, They have just gone right in it and started to make changes and then realized that they are hopelessly tangled. And they quit. So then I have to go back and try to figure out how to clean it up. And the last guy that was with Scott County didn't last 90 days. When somebody takes over a site, the first thing they're required to do is get their name up on the site and remove the temporary hostess name. And this guy couldn't even do that. And he had to be removed. I mean, there's effort in this. You gotta take some time into it. I'm not trying to scare you away from it, but it's a job. It is truly a job. Let me show you Scott County here. Where are you? Here we are. Okay, this is Scott County. And I think it's very pleasing to the eye. It's nice to have good size font and to have things spread out so they're not all smushed together. It's nice to be able to click on something and it takes you directly to the other page. Now here you have a different layout style. And this was the one prior to the autumn leaves, if you will. And so, and here we have another style of layout on a page that is perfectly acceptable. Sure, it'd be nice to have everything the same, but that takes time. And Scott County, I will say, has a tremendous amount of information on it, much more than a lot of other sites. This site was first done by Kathy LeBoff, and she spent, I mean, it was her world. And she did, like I said, she did a lot of stuff. And you can see that these are just the history section. Okay, I had a thought, I just lost it. There's census records. Oh, I remember what I was going to do. And I find it to be very handy to have things to go back to the main page that you started from. When you go into a site and you might be wondering, okay, I want to find certain information. How am I going to find it? That's where you go over here to the free find search feature. On this feature, you can type in a word or name. Give me a name.
Anderson. That's not a good name.
Well, we'll probably get millions.
Well, probably.
Okay, there's 226 items that have the name Anderson in it. So then you go over to here, it says advanced search, and you click on that. And maybe you're looking for Will Anderson. So you type in Will Anderson and search. That didn't come up with anything. So then we try to do it the other way. Maybe we'll have a Will. We had one in the Davenport Democrat. Yes. Okay, so that will take you right to where you need to go. And then what you want to do is click on the highlighted title there. And this person is in this newspaper clipping. So how do you find it in this? You go up to your little free find, your find thing. Now, I don't know what it is called on your, different programs will call it different things. And I'll type in Anderson. And the word Anderson is in 4 different places on this page. So then it will just take you right on down. Were you aware of that? Well, maybe some people were, some people weren't, but it's a really handy tool. And all of the Iowa Gen websites have that feature. I would say the majority of them in US Gen Web do also. I don't know about other websites, whether they would have it or not, but I find this to be a really nice tool when it comes to researching.
You can also use Control L.
Yes, that's right. Let's see. Go back to this here. Okay, if somebody wants to become a coordinator with Iowa GenWeb, we have a whole application process. And on the application, it will ask you to study the site and make, what things do you want to change? What do you think needs improvement? How much time do you think you could put into it? The whole idea is to bring information to the site to make it to be a viable tool for researchers. If you don't put any information, new information on there, it gets kind of stagnant. And if you know that you're not going to be finding anything new, you're not going to bother going back. So I have a goal to provide, put on as much new stuff as I can. And being that I'm retired, I've got the time to investigate things to put on. And also I'm very blessed by, I have a crew of volunteers from all over the country that just like to type. So they'll type up whatever it is in a Word document or an Excel document and send it to me as an email attachment. And then I would then code it, place it on the site, and give them credit for being the submitter. All the sites will have a what's new. So you can then go to that to see what's been happening for that particular site. And I don't know if I had a volunteer that submitted 81 postcards of Muscatine County to the site. And I think they're pretty cool. And so they're all here in an index. And again, it's just a resource, but they're kind of fun. You do not have to know anything about HTML to become a coordinator. I mean, as far as having a lot of experience, you can say that you're a beginner, or you can say you're a pro, you've used other sites before or worked with other sites before. We will ask, are you writing your own code, or are you going to use a web editor program? And then we're going to ask, have you ever used a file transfer program, otherwise known as an FTP? And if they don't know how to do it, we have a list of programs, free programs that they can use. And some of them learn by the seat of the pants, just like I did. At the end of a new coordinator has to pass a 90-day review. And if they have posted new information and their site is free of broken links, then their welcome bond is a full timer. And we have had people that are fired, and we have had people that quit in that time period. And it's, something, it's okay. I mean, if you give it your all, you try. And I think for those that are struggle, they're saying, this really isn't what I want to do. And it's okay to say, not now. Any information you put on the site is technically, you're the contributor, and it's the copyright and the ownership of that information is yours because you're the one that put the information on. If you leave, you can choose to have that information taken away from the site, or you could choose to let it stay. We have people that say, well, if I go, I want to have the right to say, I'm going to take the information with me. But most people will it to Iowa GenWeb, so it's always there. Let's see here. Going back to my home page here. Okay. People who have become coordinators do not have to live in the county that they're managing. Which is a good thing, because obviously I live in Muscatine, but I sure haven't been to the other places. In fact, some of those kind of counties I've managed, I've never been to in my life. But I know I'm a researcher. I know where to find information, and I know how to take that information and code it, put it on a website. We have specific rules that we must follow to maintain our site. And on the coordinator help section, it tells you what the project rules are. It also provides what our bylaws are and what our whole purpose for living is. And so I think all of that is pretty well there. As far as giving a new coordinator ideas as to where to find information, there's cemetery information that can be compiled, censuses. We have wonderful information, scanned images that we can work from with FamilySearch.org. And if you're looking at the scanned image and coding from it, that's fair game. But on the pages that is my source, I state where the information came from. We find church records. Many times I've walked into a church and said, well, you've got baptism, funerals, and marriages. Could I index them for you? I'll give you a copy. And if you would give me permission to put them in the county libraries and also to post them on the IAGenWeb website. Most people have given me permission to put it on the IAGenWeb website, but I have had some that said no. But at least I was able to index the information, which was a big help to them because they had no clue how to find it, anything in their records. And so, you know, it's a win-win situation. And I just love looking at new information. I get so immersed in the history that, and when I'm transcribing something, I look at the information so much closer and I just get all excited. And I also wear my eyes out, and usually by 3:30 in the afternoon, my eyes have had it and I have to quit. So we have several orphan counties right now, meaning they need to have a coordinator. And if any of those happen to put a twinkle in your eye, I would love to talk to you as a welcome hostess, because anybody that's interested in adopting a county needs to contact the welcome hostess and say, hey, I'm interested. And then we talk about it a little bit and I share the duties of what the coordinator does. And if somebody says, yep, I'm still really interested in doing this, we send them an application. And once it's completed, it comes back to the welcome hostesses, and then we refer it to, give it to the leadership team, and everybody has a big powwow session, and then they'll approve the coordinator. And so then the welcome hostess gets in touch with them and saying, yay, you've been accepted. And the next step is support will be in touch with them to give them the keys. And the welcome hostess will make sure they've got the programs on their computer to get going. And they take off. So, do you have any questions? Yes.
You said there were kind of common requirements, what's on the websites for each county. What are those? What do you?
We are
there
required.
minimum requirements.
Okay,
for
we
your
are
website?
required to have the IAGenWeb logo, the IAGenWeb logo, join our team. A search engine, that's a free find here. Where
As far as the materials are concerned.
and the server space logo, that's it. As far as we're required to have a complete record set or random records posted every 6 months. And that information can come from wherever you find it. It might be a library book. It might be on familysearch.org. It might be something you found on Ancestry, like the convicts. I think I put that under family stories. Wish I could see better.
I haven't seen it yet.
No. And the other thing is that sometimes, one thing about working with a lot of different sites is I sometimes have to hunt where I put it.
Mhm.
Details. Where did I put that down? Maybe it's under. Okay.
This is the list that Shirley did.
Yeah. Yeah, we had the list of inmates at Anamosa Penitentiary. Penitentiary? Yeah, probably find it. When all else fails, find convicts. Whoops. Okay, here we go. Yeah, Shirley did it, 2019. She did all of these things. Shirley was and is one of my most precious volunteers. So this is that book one, and we transcribe it as it's written. And of course, with the handwriting, we do our best trying to interpret the squiggles. But it's amazing the different kinds of things you'll find on these sites.
We have a question from online. Can you estimate the average and minimum number of hours per week or per month required for most coordinators?
No, it's whatever time you've got. I mean, some people only have maybe a couple hours a week.
It's just as
Sometimes
long
it's
as-
just a few times a month, but the whole idea is you've got that minimum requirement every 6 months to put on. So whatever time it takes to do it. So there is flexibility, absolutely. And I find when I start working on a project, it's like starting a good book. You don't want to put it down until it's done. So I hope I answered your question. Any other questions? Yes,
Where did you find that list?
that was in,
Anamosa.
She was working on one for Scott, but
I think I did. Let's see.
and then my other question is it the, you have to have new. Is that unique to Iowa or is that every state?
I can't answer to that. I don't know about the other states. I think the rules with IAGenWeb are tougher than anywhere else. I don't think there is any requirements.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of it.
Has that time frame expanded since you guys put that in place? Like, was it every 3 months? And then it moved to every 6, or
Well,
just because there's a lot of information still all out there, but then
oh, here we go. Record of
Eventually.
convict. Yes,
Might
it is
be.
on the Scott County site.
harder to find stuff.
Okay, going back to Scott County, it's under records. Right here. So this is what was available for Scott County.
Thank you.
Okay, so what did you say? I'm sorry.
Just like, cause I was thinking about the time frame of 6 months, like, has it ever been like 3 months, you had to get new things every 3 months, or
Well,
has it always been like 6 months just to give time
I
to?
think if anything, the rules have been made a little bit more relaxed because people get busy and they don't have as much time, especially people that are holding down a job and have small children. I mean, they only have so many hours of free time themselves. So they've tried to make that particular requirement of new data more lax. So to encourage more people to become county coordinators. And being I'm retired, I'm typically at the computer about 5:30, 5:45. And like I said, I stop around 3:30 because my eyes have given out. But it's just because I enjoy so much what I'm doing. And I'm strange. Any other questions? Yes.
Do you ever put stuff from your phone on?
Are you saying, could you use a telephone to? Okay, I don't have a cell phone. I just have a landline, number one. Number two, if your phone is your computer, yes, you can, because you'd be sending information to the coordinator who would then take that information and turn it into HTML to post it on the site. So as a contributor, yes, you could use your phone. To manage a website just using your phone, I would find that to be pretty restrictive, because your screen on your phone is so small. Anybody else? Well, I really appreciate you inviting me to come talk with y'all. And if anybody's interested in adopting a site, I have an application right here. Or you can just send me an email.
Thank you very much. That was
Thank you.
delightful.
Thank you. And people are still awake. Yay!
I know sometimes I forget to go there, when I'm thinking, oh, I don't know if there's anything new, but obviously there is.
And if we could get a new coordinator for Scott County, boy,
Yeah.
look at the new stuff that we could put on.
Maybe we can arm ourselves.
Well, is there anybody here that does work with HTML?
I have in the past, but not. I can
You
adapt.
already have a big
I
job.
do. I have a full-time job.
Yeah.
But I could help someone.
And I'll always be available to help.
Muscatine's not very far.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you. We're just going to have a real short little meeting and
You want to set her up here?
have some
Oh.
refreshments.
I think she can be, if you want to stand closer to the mic. And then I think you're good.
Okay. So let's see, next month, what's our topic?
It is Jerry.
Jerry,
And
right
she's
here.
going to be telling us how to share our family histories with writing
writing.
and documenting that. So it'll be a fun
Great.
topic. Is that a good description of it? Okay.
One thing that's kind of urgent, I guess, is that Burlington always has a spring conference, and it's next weekend, Friday and Saturday. And their keynote speaker, Barry Jurgensen, if you're interested in anything about the Underground Railroad, he started out as a history teacher in a high school in Omaha, and he had a group of students working on that project, and it's gone nationwide.
Did he just write a
underneath-
book last year?
He might have, because now he's under the Freedom Program, the National Freedom Program. He's been here in the past.
What's his name?
What's his name?
What's his name?
Barry, and it's Jurgensen. Jurgensen. And he's moved into Iowa. We can claim him.
So to go to that, you have to drive yourself?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll leave this here and you can copy information if you want. You have to call them. It's free. It used to be $10, but now it's free.
No, I just don't like driving by myself.
Yeah, well,
I would like to say that on the Iowa Gen websites, there is information on the Underground Railroad. So,
yeah, because they uncovered some sites in Iowa.
yeah.
Very nice.
There's a lot of sites.
A lot of sites on Iowa. Okay, so let's see, other information, books for sale back there, $1, help yourself. And Dan, you want to just talk about your presentation that you've been doing?
We did a presentation, just today
I do too.
Yeah.
About 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
at the, with Claire. Iowa Library, we had a group of people who had been publicized to the library community, and we had 7 people who came and took our class. It was, I think it was well received, and that's it.
Yeah, I always like it when they ask questions and they talk to us.
Yeah.
And this group did. So that was very nice. And I always appreciate that because you can tell, oh, they're still awake, they're paying attention, they're interested.
Yeah.
You know, so those were all good things.
And we tentatively have a second presentation scheduled for the Eldridge Library this coming Saturday, if they can put together students.
Okay, at 11 o'clock, yeah.
No,
Dan and
1
Ann
o'clock.
do it
One
together.
1
1
o'clock.
o'clock.
Oh, 1 o'clock, oh,
I want to go to the Mormons in the morning, so.
okay. You
Yeah,
really
that's
have to
program.
check, because they've been closing out.
I
there a
think they
lot.
do have their presentation. They just sent out an email. They're closed on the 10th or something
Yeah.
for their annual, semi-annual
Oh,
carpet
okay.
cleaning. I
Yeah.
read the
Because
email.
I've been seeing them all week that come out and say, we're
Yeah.
closed today.
Yes, yeah, no, they mentioned the presentation.
Okay, Jerry, you wanna give us just a short?
Sure, I can do that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was talking about.
We have
Jerry
two-
first.
two- It's okay, Jerry.
Treasurer Jerry.
Treasurer's report for the month ending April 30th, 2023. American Bank and Trust Savings Account had $5,392.46 in it. American Bank PayPal account has $5 in it. American Bank and Trust general checking went to $4,232.07. IH Mississippi Valley Savings $173.12. And IH Mississippi Valley Credit Union CD has a balance of $37,809.12.
We're very happy. Okay, Pat, you just want to say,
Any of you new members, if you want, we have a volunteer area that we help with the SCIGs. The SCIGs volunteers help with the library down in the Sloane collection. We help them out during their lunch hour mainly, and I could do some training. Get you through whatever. And if I can't. We always have half a pack. There's something,
Mhm.
yeah, right here. I want to volunteer. I put in my little application thing online.
oh, good.
Yeah.
And no one's called me yet.
I will message Jennifer. So we have a HR person who handles all of our volunteers through the library. So I haven't, she hasn't messaged me about your
I'm
application.
ready.
Okay, sounds
Great.
good.
Ready later.
Perfect.
It's a good job to have.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
it is. Plus, if there's nothing down there to do, you can do your own research.
Right.
Great.
And there's always a staff member present.
Yes,
You're not,
yes,
you're not
that's
left on
good.
your own.
You're never left by yourself. There's always a staff member there. Before, we used to have pages too, but we don't have them, so.
Because a lot of times I have a question I can't answer, so I always go back and ask one of the staff members.
And can I make a copy of this?
Sure.
Okay, I don't know. Do I have to go around? the
You could
corner?
just take
Just
that.
grab it.
Take
Oh,
that.
this is-
Okay. Would you like to say something about this, our secretary?
Oh, I'll just do it as the librarian.
Okay, she's the secretary and our librarian.
We need more volunteers. I have received the DuPage County, Illinois history. It's called Then and Now. And then we had an accident where the Guthrie County Cemetery records find 2. It didn't affect 1 or 3, just find 2 got wet. So we've reordered Guthrie County Cemeteries, Moffitt's Grove, Monte Memorial, North Oak Grove, Orange Township and Tuttle Grove, Pleasant Hill and North Branch Cemeteries, Resurrection Cemetery, Richland Township Cemetery, Rose Hill Cemetery. And then we also got the Guthrie County records, 1880 to 1894. Guthrie County delayed births and a listing of wills and probates. So those have been ordered. And they're here. I don't know if they've been processed, but they're here in the library. So if you need them, if you can't find them, you can always ask one of the ladies to go get them. They can
And
find it.
minutes for our meetings are always sent out.
Yeah.
If you'd like to read them. And Mike, is our registrar, so he has a couple. Oh, registrar anymore. I'm sorry. Corresponding secretary. Thanks.
But I have had queries. Eleanor Dobbs wrote in asking about some ancestors, Philomena Strasser and Laura Strasser Dammy. Any of you ever heard either of those names? And then Larry wrote on behalf of Mona Horney, and she was looking for naturalization papers for her ancestors, Emil, Alina, and Marie Magdalene Horney.
You can write in and Mike will answer your question. if
Well,
he
I
can.
can try.
He'll try. Okay. He's good.
Person was,
What else would I
they
do?
took the
And
oath
Lane
here.
is our registrar.
They came, because that's, Scott County
That's
was a
okay.
place where
We
the
do have some
the
new
judge
records.
was, but they actually lived in Burlington.
Yeah.
So the file, we found that the
Welcome.
naturalization papers were great.
Did you want to tell us what your program is? Sure, yeah.
I just recently was able to cover.
Excuse me.
Half sister, third cousin. She was born in 1875 in Northfield, Minnesota. So my story is, I was an Air Force bred. My dad traveled every 2 years. We were moving, and in 1968 he passed away. He was a single child. We never got stationed to Minnesota, so I never met any fuller family relatives. So what happened to me when I was 18, I'm in school, I'm an editor for the yearbook, and since it's an English course, he has to give me a writing assignment. He says, I'd like you to tell me what your 4 generations are on your father's. Well, of course you do. So I began writing letters and talking to as many family people as I could. I've never met them. And here I'm 18, talking to these older people. And it was a wonderful experience. And it just got me more curious. I got a letter from my father's great aunt saying that our great grandfather had another wife. She died in 1877 and left behind a 2-year-old from that marriage. The second marriage is where my grandfather is from. I never knew anything about Clara because there's no pictures, there's no story, there's no history of her. And so I began my curiosity and started with vital records. My girlfriends are babysitting like I am. They're buying pizza and I'm buying vital records. So I'm fine, but mine. But it's just a woman that was very proud. I was able to not only write her story. I went to Minnesota in 97. I flew in so I could access their library because Ancestry wasn't online yet. I'm getting databases. And I ended up tracing my family tree back to Massachusetts.
Wow.
So it's been a while.
Yeah, there is.
But the best fun for me is actually going to the towns where my ancestors lived. I spent 10 days in Northfield. I spent 4 days in upstate New York in Canton. And then I finally went to Massachusetts. I'm going to tell you a really short story about Massachusetts. So I called the library there. Got to start with the library. And I said, hi, I'm trying to find information about Florida. And she said, well, which one? So it was this big nothing. I had to get on the ball and figure out which ones. And they had a book, and this book had our oldest Fuller family house is still standing. It was built in 1684. I asked the publisher and the author for permission to put that photo in my book. Crickets. All I got was crickets. So my husband and I got on the plane and we flew so I could take a picture of that house. Whatever gets you there, but I found a lot of information.
There's nothing like going to the county or.
It's just, I hope that'll be fun for you.
Yeah, I think that was exciting. Catherine, did you want to just say
Yeah.
something to close us out? I think.
Oh, I guess it's totally. So as you guys may have seen in some publicity on our library's website, on our social media, things like that. Due to some funding cuts earlier this year that were completely unforeseen, we had to do some negotiating with our hours. And so that's going to be impacting special collections operating hours. So that will then affect you all. So what that means is that we're only going to be open one Saturday a month, starting this month. And so the rest of the month, we are not going to be open on Saturdays. So it's going to be the first Saturday of every month. So that should assist you guys if you want to use our collections this day when we have the SCIGS meetings. And then the only outlier is September, when we have our SCIGS meeting on the second. But you can just pop in the first Saturday and come see us and then attend the meeting next the following week. But hopefully it's a temporary situation. But we'll all work through it and just have to come down and visit us on the first Saturday.
Or during the week.
Or during the week or Monday night.
Where do you get your funding?
City mostly, and then for operating hours, so this particular thing was with the Scott Community College. They have an urban campus, which is just right south of us a little bit. And so they were facing declining enrollment. We had made this agreement in 2018 with them to extend our operating hours for the general library. Not necessarily even impacting special collections because we haven't been open evenings. But they decided to decline continuing this agreement, and so thus we had a cut.
Is the flood or not?
No, and we had to cut we didn't cut positions, we didn't lose any staff members. We just didn't fill a few positions, which then got some trouble staffing in the other departments, so. And they looked at lots of stuff, so it was a hard decision. Admin doesn't want to do it either, and.
It's too bad.
Our society supports you.
Yes,
Quite a bit.
for funding for special collections, we have an endowment. We have the Lorraine Duncan Foundation. So that's a really great way to support us. It can pay for all the time, in kind and also monetary, and then also staff. Volunteer time, all of our great volunteers supporting us, so we couldn't do all the things that we do without all of them. But one fun thing, so in October, we have been doing outreach events with other local history, community, cultural organizations since 2018, and it's called the QC Archives Fair. So it's essentially, you go to some fun place and you bring some fun things about your library, your institution, your library, museum, archives, and then you show it at this space, and then people can walk around and look at all your cool stuff. But this year, it'll actually be over in Rock Island. And it's going to be at the Halberg Estate. So if you guys haven't been there, it's a fantastic space. Susanna Dankman of the Wirehouse Dankman lumber firm that was over in Lower Rock Island. She built the house, and then she married John Halberg, who also helped found the Black Hawk State Park and had the museum there. But the house is beautiful. A person that worked close to Frank Lloyd Wright, he loved tulips, or she liked tulips, and so there's tulip motifs all over. It's a beautiful house.
Kind
So
of breaks playoffs.
Yeah, yes. So please come over. It'll be fun. It'll be from 1 to 4 on the last Saturday in October. And SCIGS will be there, and we will be there, and a whole bunch of other fun organizations.
Good. Any comments? Additions?
I just have one thing to say. This is my first time here, and as you know, I just
fell in love with this.
Yeah.
But, I just started all of this and it's really hard for me to find my ancestor history. But I kind of got interested in it because I was a chaplain at Trinity and we had to do a genealogram. I had no clue what a genealogram was, and so we had to do it on paper. But just for anybody who want to see, it took me months and months and months, and that was that with computers and things like that. And what I could find, I do have a paper, but I wanted mine to be different because it was only 6 people in this group. They only took 6 per year, and I was the only woman. So I wanted to outdo, excuse me. the men. So if anybody would like to see it, that's it, table. But I mean, we all had to do it on like graph paper. And so the men, they were so nice. They all treated me like I was their little sister, and I really appreciated it. And so it took us like, we had 4 months to get this together. And they kept saying, well, let's let Debbie go first. I said, no, this is the one. I have to go first. I want to go last because I don't think you all can follow me. So I will tell you all, if you'd like to see it, what I created. And I've been interested since I started doing this, that I'm thinking if anybody would like help with something like what I did, I wouldn't mind helping. Because I enjoy doing this. It was so much fun to me. It's like my.
We always call it the black hole.
I
fall in and
I do,
there's never any end.
and I found out so much stuff about my family. I'm like, and I am starting to write a book, so don't nobody steal the title.
Okay.
It's gonna be The Secrets We Keep. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I found out so many secrets I wanted to say.
They don't want to tell them.
Now, who do I pay for that? I have 2 books too.
Oh,
The gentleman in the back.
and there's some cookies, and water, and then help yourself. Help
Thank
yourself
you,
to
guys.
brunch. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna end this, guys.
Okay.
Thank you for everyone online. If you're not a member, join. We'll be doing a Zoom next month as well. So same time in on June 3rd, I believe.